Remember the great toilet paper crisis of 2020? Empty shelves, long lines, and a sense of desperation. But what if I told you there was a solution to this problem hiding in your backyard? Meet mullein, the humble plant that can give you some personal comfort in times of a toilet paper shortage. You know, when the world was in a frenzy, the forest was quietly offering up a solution. I'm going to show you how to plant it, and I'm also going to talk about some of the amazing uses for this plant that you might have never heard of. And at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about a surprisingly interesting use that's actually illegal. Now, if you appreciate me getting into this video quickly, please give me a thumbs up. Let's get started. Just check out these leaves. Come on, they're strong. They're super soft. It isn't hard to figure out how this plant developed the nickname cowboy toilet paper. Now, that's a funny name for a plant that has a pretty wide array of uses that go beyond toilet paper. In the Middle Ages, it was used as a torch. They would take the dried stalk, dip it in tallow, and then light it and use it as a torch. It's native to Europe, Asia, and Africa, and then somewhere along the line, it made it to North America. And it does really well just about anywhere. In fact, you can grow this plant, and it will grow in abundance from zones 3 all the way down to zone 9. Now, people often mix up a young mullein plant with another plant called lamb's ears. Now, they're actually not even in the same family. They're completely different plants, but they both have these soft green leaves. Now, part of the reason for that confusion is that mullein is what they call a biennial. And so it actually has 2 years in its normal life cycle. And so when it first starts out, it's this kind of small, low plant with a little rosette of soft leaves. And so it can kind of look and feel like lamb's ears. But what happens is in the second year, the plant gets really tall. And it puts out a long stem with flowers on it. Now, here is an example of a mullein in its second year. Now, this particular mullein plant in my garden is strangely small. They're usually 2 or 3 times taller than this when they get to this phase. So who knows what's going on here. But I will say that you can see that it's starting to flower. Now, these flowers, eventually this entire top portion of this stalk, actually will get a little taller, and it almost looks like a corn cob, but made out of lots of little tiny flowers. And that particular feature is where it gets another one of its many nicknames, and that is Aaron's rod, which is a reference to the high priest in the Bible whose staff began to flower. Now, in the winter of that second year, the mullein plant dries up and dies. But that's not the end of the story. You see, each mullein plant is capable of producing between 100 and 240,000 seeds. So this is an incredibly potent plant capable of many generations of future toilet paper production.
There's no toilet paper over here. Are you talking to me? Yeah, I just forgot to check, so if you could spare some.
The seeds that are produced have been recorded to lie dormant in soil that isn't ideal for up to 100 years until it reaches the perfect germination situation, and then the plant takes off. And fortunately, the actual harvesting of the seeds from a mullein plant is very easy. You simply break off the seed pods, and you can see thousands upon thousands of tiny little seeds that break off. And so you can see how you can get hundreds of thousands of seeds out of one plant. The seeds of the mullein plant require a period of cold, moist conditions. This is actually called cold stratification. Once that period has passed, then that means the following year they will likely germinate if the right conditions are met. What I do is I simply take a stalk that's loaded with all of these seed pods, and I break up some of them over the ground. And that's because there's another quirk about mullein in that the seeds require sunlight in order to germinate. Unlike other seeds that you might bury in the ground and cover over, you simply sprinkle mullein seeds on the surface of the ground, and then you wait. Like we said, for the full cycle, you wait 2 years. Let's talk about traditional uses of this plant. Now, indigenous people commonly would take the flowers and make a yellow dye from those flowers. But more importantly, the plant was recognized to be useful in upper respiratory inflammation. The dried leaves and flowers were used to make a tea that would treat a cough, bronchitis, asthma, things like that. So I actually do this as well. It's very easy to save the leaves, dry them, and make a tea from them. And the flavor is very mild. I actually like to add wild mint, dried wild mint that grows here on the property, to the tea because the two flavors seem to complement each other. So there you have it. This plant is incredibly versatile. It's not just one thing, but it's many different things. And I mentioned that there was one other use for mullein that is illegal. Well, let me tell you about that. And finally, the last use for mullein that I had mentioned. Indigenous people would take the seeds and grind them into a powder, and then they would take that powder and they would throw it into a pond or a lake that they knew had fish. And the reason is there are 4 compounds contained in mullein that are known to paralyze fish and cause them to float to the surface. Pretty amazing. Now, it's not hard to figure out why that is illegal in all 50 states. Putting any kind of substance into a body of water so that you can do this to fish. Well, there are stupid people out there that would do stupid things, and eventually there would be no fish, right? On top of that, some of those compounds contained in mullein are known to deoxygenate water. And so essentially they would turn a body of water into a stinking, gooey, lifeless mess. So it's just bad on all accounts to do this. Now, the only circumstances under which indigenous people would do this is if they were starving. They needed food, they needed protein. Well, they would put that powder in the water and go bobbing for fish. So, to put it mildly, mullein is an adaptable and versatile plant that I think you should be growing yesterday. And like I said, it takes a couple years to get going, so, well, get going. If you made it to this point in the video, I just gotta say thank you so much. It's people like you that keep me motivated in making content like this. Please, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, all those things. Above all, please comment. I'd love to know your thoughts on this topic and other topics. You might have also noticed my t-shirt. I have a bunch of different t-shirts in my shop that are based on chicken themes and splitting wood and working in the garden and all things like that. So if you'd like to support me in that way, you can also do that. And if you liked this video, you might like these.